In our Radical Love series, today's Mass for Life is titled Giving Totally. Someone from our area who has given of herself is Kitty Spinelli, co-founder of Joseph's House for Women. Kitty is a wife, mom, grandmother, and born-again Catholic. Her journey is the perfect example of God's writing straight with crooked lines, as she has been rescued from the depths of sin in order to become a witness to the joy of our Lord's unfathomable mercy through her work with Joseph's House. Students from Bishop Ludden founded a junior auxiliary program for students to volunteer by assisting the mission of Joseph's House. So we invite you to get involved at Joseph's House after today. And come Advent, we will all have the chance to work with Joseph's House through their bottle drive. Each student in our Catholic schools will be given a bottle to collect money for Joseph's House. Joseph's House has also generously given lanyards, I think I have one in my pocket here, to you, so that will go along with you as you leave today. It says, "I have called you by name, you are mine," from Isaiah 43:1, and Kitty will go into what that means to her in her talk. So to better understand the beginning of Joseph's House, please warmly welcome Kitty Spinelli.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be here. A big thank you to Lisa Hall and to the Respect Life office for welcoming Joseph's House and me to this beautiful cathedral. Bishop Lucia acknowledged miracles, and that's right where my talk starts, because the story of Joseph's House is all about miracles. But I want to begin with all of you. I want you to understand that your life is a miracle. You know, I've never really thought about the probability of my existence until I read something from a doctor from Harvard named Ali Benazara. He wanted to figure out what the odds of his existence really were. And so he set about, and he realized quite quickly that the odds of his parents meeting were 1 in 20,000, because with all the people in the world, it took his parents to come together to create him. The odds that his parents would stay together long enough to have children were 1 in 40,000. The odds that that child would be you and not one of your siblings is 1 in 400 quadrillion. And if you don't understand why, it's because a woman in her lifetime produces about 100,000 eggs, while a man produces about 12 trillion seeds. And there's only one seed with your name on it, and there's only one egg with your name on it. And they had to come together at the precise moment to create you. I find that totally incredible. And there's more, because for your parents to exist, the same thing had to happen. And for your grandparents to exist, and for your great-grandparents to exist, all this had to happen 150,000 times. It goes back 150,000 generations, your DNA, to make you. You are truly a miracle. God tells us in Jeremiah, "I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb." Before. He's known you forever. He's loved you forever. Before you were born, I set you apart. He has a plan that's just for you. The probability of all this happening, of you existing, is the same probability of 2.5 million people getting together, rolling dice with 13 trillion sides, and coming up with the same number. What is the probability of that? It's basically zero. You know, the definition of a miracle is an event so unlikely, it is thought to be impossible. And I believe these numbers prove that you're all miracles, that we're all miracles. And he will use each and every one of us in his great wisdom to get us on track. He does right straight with crooked lines, and the story that you're going to hear will prove that to you, because it took me 52 years to figure out what the plan was for me. And my wish is that it doesn't take any of you that long. I hope you figure out God's plan for your life much sooner. It will save you a lot of heartache. In 2004, my 24-year-old son was in an accident, and he suffered a traumatic brain injury. And the doctors did not give him much of a chance of survival. And they said if he did survive, he would be paralyzed and bedridden and hooked up to machines for the rest of his life. That was the day the rosary beads were found in the junk drawer in the kitchen. And I made the promise, I will do whatever you want me to do, dear Lord, if you give me back my child. Anything. He was in a coma for 6 weeks here. We took him to Boston. He was in a coma for another 4 weeks there. They told us that he would be there 9 months. They didn't think he would ever walk again. They knew he would never talk again. And 3 months later, my son walked out of that hospital on his own power, laughing, talking, remembering things that no one ever thought he would remember. Any doctor that looked at his MRI could not explain why he was alive. He is a miracle. We came home, and I'm not going to say it was 100%. His recovery took years, years and years. And it was a lot of organic cooking and juicing and vitamins because he could not take medication. And we were doing this on our own because when you're not on medication, there's not a doctor that really wants to work with you. So we figured out ways to do things with different therapies. He worked really hard. We all worked hard. And throughout all those years, I kept searching for what God wanted me to do in thanksgiving, in gratitude, in appreciation for giving me back my child. I was so overwhelmed with the thought that God could put grace on someone like me. I would do anything to let him know how grateful I was. And I finally found myself on March 19th of 2009, 5 years later, on the sidewalk in front of Planned Parenthood. Of all the places in the world I ever saw myself in my life, that was the last one. Because as a 20-year-old, and again as a 22-year-old, I walked into that building twice, and I did not choose life. I destroyed life. I took life. I did it out of selfishness. I did it because no one would help me. I did it because the father wanted no part of me, and because I was afraid to go to my parents. And I believe God put me on that sidewalk that day to let me know that he had forgiven me unequivocally, that I was not the bad person that I always believed I had been, that he would give me another second chance, and a third chance, and a fourth chance, and a fifth chance if needed to get me where he wanted me to be. And through the sacraments of reconciliation, I found my way back. And I found myself going back to Planned Parenthood 2 and 3 times a week because I received a joy there and a fulfillment there that I had never known in my life, talking to these young women and realizing that they did not want to abort their children. They just didn't have any other way. They couldn't see how they could possibly do it because they were told, I'll put you out on the street. I will forget you if you have this child. A year later, March 19th, 2010, in adoration, God put the thought of Joseph's house in my heart. And I kind of thought it was ridiculous because I'm just a mom, you know. I never really worked. I have a 2-year degree. I have no great skills. There was a time in my life I was so anxious I couldn't leave the house. I didn't know how I could possibly do it, but I said, if that's what you want, Lord, I will do it for you. And I prayed for the people to come into my life to help me to do it. And finally, in 2012, I met Maria Miller from Holy Family Church. And she was everything that I am not. She was educated and businesslike and had connections and knew how to build things. And I had none of that. And once Maria came in, Father Pryor came in, and Holy Family came in, and I had already gotten my parish of St. Mary's and Skaneateles on board with this. I had great people in Skaneateles that helped me develop that dream from 2010 to 2012. They prayed for me, they prayed with me to make this dream come true for God. Because in the end, this is God's mission. It has nothing to do with us. We simply say yes. And I'm going to give you one miracle story because it's hard to get them all in. We found the house where Joseph's house now exists in February of 2013. And it was a $500,000 home. And we didn't have any money. And we didn't know how we were going to buy this house. And the owner worked with us and gave us 90 days, and he cut the price to $425,000. We had 90 days to raise $425,000. None of us had a lot of fundraising experience. We didn't know what we were doing. We started having gatherings in people's homes. We went to churches and spoke. The diocese opened doors for us as far as getting into churches and speaking with priests so we could try to collect money, and the word spread. And 4 days before that contract was going to expire, we were only $40,000 short. Now, that's still a whole lot of money, and we didn't know how we were going to get it. But the people that owned the house let us have an open house. And we told everybody there, if this mission touches your heart, if you support the sanctity of life and the dignity of women, please go tell your neighbors about us, because everywhere in the world there's a quiet millionaire who does not know what to do with his money. And maybe he'll give it to us. And the next morning my phone rang, and a woman said to me, I want to give you $250,000, and I'm going to write you the first check today for $40,000. All of a sudden, the impossible dream given to somebody like me to try to begin was happening. And we closed on that house in October of 2013. We opened our doors on March 19th of 2014. That's 5 years to the day of their first rosary of Planned Parenthood. It's 4 years to the day of the inspiration for this home. We didn't have enough money to open those doors. We should have never done it. Any businessman would have said, you are crazy. We had enough money to buy the house, but we were like $75,000 short. And I'm going to tell you, by the grace of God, we have never looked back. We have always trusted that God will provide for us. He not only gives us the money, he gives us the people, he gives us the donors, he gives us the staff, and most of all, he gives us the most courageous young women who have the guts to say yes to life. He sends them to our door. They might be pregnant, they might have a 3-month-old, they might have a 1-year-old. They've all been smart enough and appreciative enough of the gift of life to say yes. And we will do anything we can to get them on track, to give them a chance, so that they don't make the mistakes that I made. You are all going to be approached by someone at some point of your life who is considering abortion. Please remember those statistics that I gave you at the beginning. Your life is a miracle. God has a plan for you. You are meant to be here. I don't care what your problems are, or if you're sad, or if you're being bullied, or if you feel you're a bad person. God can turn all that around. If he did it for someone like me, I know he can do it for you. I see it every day in the faces of these young women and the beauty of their children. And today I have the great privilege of introducing to you one of our moms, who's not only brave enough to say yes to life, but is brave enough to be here today and to tell you her story and the story that led her to Joseph's house. So I would ask you to please give a warm welcome to Octavia Evans.
Hello. My name is Octavia, and I am 21 years old. I am one of the resident mothers at St. Joseph's house. I don't usually do this, so I'm kind of shy. But I would just talk about my journey and how I got there. I was in an unhealthy relationship, and I was living with him, and it wasn't really good because I was always like sad and crying, and I wasn't really like attentive to my baby. Since I was so depressed, I would just be in my room, like, oh, I would just like turn the TV on and he could just watch TV. But like that wasn't really good for him. And I was being so selfish because I just wanted to fix my relationship with my lover, which was really not good. So things got worse, and I needed somewhere to stay, and I don't have family out here, so it was really hard. So I spoke to a social worker here, and she was my old social worker because I'm adopted. So I contact her, and I'm just like, well, I really need help. I need a place to stay. I have a baby. He's 1, so like, she told me about St. Joseph's, and I called them, and Miss Sue, she answered, and I was telling her my situation and how I really needed a place to stay. And then she told me, well, yeah, come and we'll like take care of everything. And I'm just like, okay. But then I got cold feet. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. Because like there's rescue missions out here, and there's other places out here for like a woman to stay, but it's not as good as St. Joseph's. Other places, I'm not downing them, but it's not a good environment where they are located or how they run things. But once I got into Sue's hands, she showed me around, and it was really shocking on how things are in the house because it's really nice. And it's not just a house, it's like a mansion, okay? Like it's really huge. And she gave me a key to my room, and she said that, well, this is your room. And again, I was surprised because usually no one has their own room and a key. Like it's really, really, really like different. And then I've moved my things there. I was really sad. I didn't know what to do. But the workers there were very comforting, and they were like, oh, it's okay. This is just the first step. Everything will be okay. When I moved there, I didn't have any diapers, any wipes, any barely clothes for my baby because he was growing out of everything. And then they provided everything for me. Like whatever I needed, they provided. And it's not just good as for your kids. Like it's really good for mothers as well because there's organizations there that helps us. So if we needed counseling or something, they'll suggest us. Well, they'll give us a counselor, or they even do counseling once a night. Also, there is this group called Life Skills, and we have it 3 times a week, and we usually do fun things. But it helps like our lives. So like, for an example, I had interviews coming up. So we went shopping on how to dress for an interview. And that was one of our nights. And then the other night was, like I was really depressed and stuff. So like they lift us up to be happy. So we do Zumba, which is like exercising. And this just keep us in a good mood. So like those life skills and those nights like distract us from ourselves. And it helps us to be better. And then like also they provide so much food for us where when I went there, I didn't know really how to cook some things. So now it gave me an opportunity on how to cook way more than what I did before. So they provide food, they provide anything for our children. Even if I needed something, they'll help us or they'll find a way. And I really appreciate that because I don't have anyone and all I have is them. And they're like my family. I consider my family, and they're really close to me, and I really appreciate everything because it's really hard being a single mom. I'm only 21, and I have a baby by myself. Like, it's not easy. It's really not. But they help me, and they help a lot, and they make things easier for me. And I'm really thankful. And I'm glad I'm there, because if I wasn't there, I'd probably be in my car with my baby. Like, I wouldn't know what to do. But once again, I'm really thankful for Joseph's House, and they helped me a lot. And they're still helping me. They're still here. And I'm so glad they didn't give up on me, because, again, I wouldn't know what to do without them. So, yeah, thank again.
But we just want to run a quick video for you guys about the March for Life for any who might be interested in it. And we want to thank Kitty and Octavia again, and the women from Joseph's House. Thank you, Kitty, for showing us. You know, that's how awesome our God is. He can take the worst mistakes in our life, and if we give them to Him, He will help make beauty out of them. Our God is so good. So for any of you who are wanting to go and attend the March for Life, it's a great trip, 3 fun days. You see the monuments, you do there's a great youth rally and the March for Life. There will be postcards at the back. The youth office will be distributing those for those who would like to attend. We're going to show you a quick video from Students for Life, who's been helping out in the pro-life groups in the schools too. And why don't you go ahead? Thanks, Mary Angela. Can it go higher, Mary Angela? Can the volume go up? No. Can't hear it. Can't hear it. Well, of course, there's always technical glitches when you want something good to happen. What they are really saying is, I've been there at the march every year for 12 years. It's an amazing experience. It is a way that you will grow closer to God. There are 500,000 people. When you turn back at the top toward the Capitol, toward the Supreme Court, and look behind you and see hundreds of thousands of people standing for life, marching for life, it is something to behold. So I really encourage each of you to think about it, consider it. It's an awesome trip. So, and I also want to tie one thing back to Joseph's House as well. In December, during Advent, in all of our diocesan high schools, as Morgan said, each of you will be getting a baby bottle, and it will be to help support Joseph's House in their mission. So we really hope that you will take this opportunity to try and raise those funds for them. And for our other schools, Holy Cross and Tyburn, that are here too, if you're interested in doing that, please let us know. We'll get you those bottles too. And we're just so grateful to all of you for being here today. It's been a good day, and it's so good to celebrate life in this way in God's house. It's a good day to be in God's house. We're going